Okay, so will the Board of Parks and Recreation please come to order? Everybody, I'm gonna start with roll call. I'm Kehoe, Deputy Director. I'll be facilitating until you elect a chair. Katie Chang. Present. Carla Hauser. Present. John Young.
Here, present.
Robert Maderas.
Present.
Nikki Medwitz.
Present. Online.
Christiane Nishida is excused. She's not here. She's unable to be with us today. Michael Robinson.
Present.
Judith Bauer. Here. Is that right? And Ricky Taniguchi.
Here.
Hello. Hearing all members present, we will proceed to a few housekeeping items. Pursuant to section 92-3.7 Hawaii revised statutes, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in two ways, remotely and in person here in Mayor's third floor conference room. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed during item number 5 as listed on the agenda. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 3-minute presentation on each item. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. The chair will then give persons who have not registered an opportunity to offer testimony. Please utilize the raise hand feature in Zoom to be called on. Once all the remote testifiers have testified, the chair will proceed to in-person testimony in the conference. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones or put them on silent. Okay, so we are gonna move to agenda item number 2, approval of minutes. Board members, included in your big packet are the draft minutes from the August 21st, 2023 board meeting held at Kapolei. No official action was taken at the meeting, therefore the minutes are a transcription of the meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 21, 2023 meeting? Or we folks need a couple of minutes to review.
I don't think so.
Any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Next item on the agenda is a presentation by DPR Director on the proposed role and organizational structure for the Board of Parks and Recreation and proposed meeting schedule.
Thank you, board members. So, for this first part of the meeting, we're, the Deputy Director Kehoe is going to facilitate the meeting. I'm gonna do the presentation. At that point, we're gonna turn it over to you folks to have the discussion. And then when it seems that you're ready, we will facilitate election of a chair. Once a chair is elected, we'll turn the gavel over to the chair to run the election for the vice chair. And then to make a determination on whether you folks want to accept the organizational structure that we're proposing and establish committees, select officers to those committees, if that's your choice, and then move forward with that. We do have a script prepared, so we're not gonna throw somebody in the deep end of the pool, and can help to facilitate through that meeting, the remainder of the meeting, whoever is the chair. But unlike the Board of Land and Natural Resources or the Department of Agriculture Board, the department director does not sit as the chair of this board. This board is an independent advisory board. It's not a governing board. So that's why we'll be turning the matter over to you. So with your indulgence, I'd like to go over a couple written documents that we put in your packet. The first is the request to the Board of Parks and Recreation to adopt the proposed role, structure, and 2024 subject matter focus. So it's the longer of the two documents. We've had a number of conversations with individual board members, but this is really a formal request on behalf of the department and the land use administration to establish a new role for the park board going forward. So we wanted to give a little bit of introductory background for your consideration, or we don't want to fill out the proposed role. So the first page, you'll see some things to consider. First with the charter, the city and county of Honolulu. And we have the quotation from the charter, which creates this park advisory board. You'll notice that the role of the board is to advise the mayor, the council, and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation. So it's not just a board that overlooks this department, it's really taking a look at the mission and goals of the entire city Department of Parks and Recreation and the city administrative structure in achieving that purpose. So advisory boards serve a very valuable role and can be very instructive partners. And that's something that we really want to encourage in this board. The pre-COVID role of the board in Parks and Recreation, there's not a lot of documentation on the record of the pre-COVID role. It was not a standard practice to have it posted on the website. We can find minutes for a couple meetings. And so we kind of outlined, it seemed to be a report would be provided. It was a monthly meeting. They did not have committees as best we could tell. And there may be some public participation at times, but a lot of times it seemed it was more just the director, maybe the deputy, and a couple of staff. I think it was this. We then took a look at kind of historical purposes of advisory boards. And one thing in Hawaii is for a lot of the boards that are dealing with land, the government tends to set up some form of board because decisions affecting land in Hawaii are very important to the general population. So part of the role of an advisory board is it's a public board. City council and the state legislature will operate in public hearings, but executive departments frequently don't. Unless they have some type of governing board, there's not really an entry point, a formal time where the public can have a dialogue regarding the operations of that department. So one of the roles of the park board is to serve as a public entry point in conversation about the operations of the parks within the city. Again, not just the department, but the city as a whole. But the other role of a board is to bring knowledge and experience and different perspectives to advise and inform decisions that are made by the department. And often an organization that's putting together an advisory board will seek out specific qualifications and skills and expertise to be able to bring that into the organization. And that's one of the things that we did when we were selecting new boards. So if you flip over to page 3, you'll see that we're proposing what the role and organizations of the board would be for 2024 and going forward. The land use administration and the department are working on some objectives for the city parks at this point. And you can see part of it is refreshing the department's recreational programming, expanding the department's large-scale repair and maintenance of recreational improvements and building new minor improvements, increasing partnerships with the public, and providing equitable facilities and programs to communities across the island. This work requires a fair amount of executive skills and abilities. Our department, similar to a lot of other departments, has had a retirement of the baby boom generation, a fairly significant turnover in management. But also the city has made some decisions over the last 20 years to consolidate certain activities. And so it withdrew from the Department of Parks and Recreation, the whole sections of architects, engineers, planners, and centralize that into the Department of Design and Construction. And there were other consolidations that took place where our department has lost a level of executive skill and administrative support for our internal operations. So while we have these, four bullet points on here as priorities for the Blangiardi administration, a very, significant aspect of being able to achieve those is to build the professional capacity of our staff. And to also hopefully build and expand, the department itself to take on some additional functions with staffing and resources to go with that. So you folks as board members were selected for your knowledge, your experience, and your leadership. Many of you have started organizations. You have, or are working in programs that are fostering development of, young people, staff, and abilities. And these are all things that we would love to collaborate with you on in helping, develop our department to be able to meet its mission and its goals better. We're proposing a kind of a 5-year focus for the board, and we're going to that on page 4, and making a really for 5 years. We're thinking of it especially on building the organizational capacity and helping us with adapting and adopting innovative approaches and leadership within our department. And I'd like to, happily say that I think the department is very well poised for that effort over the next 5 years. While there are challenges with new leadership coming in, there's also a lot of opportunities. And we have in our room today, many of our middle management and administrative leadership of the department. And I'm happy to say they're all very dedicated to what they are doing within the department, and they are all very bright and well-intentioned. And they have a lot of experience at the job and are embracing the opportunity to, add to their skill set and to work with their staff to bring their skills up as well. So what we are proposing is that the board set up a 2 committees, and we had based this proposal on conversations with many of you folks about the interests that you have and what you would like to cover as a part board. And then we focus the attention in the first year on some specific topics within that committee. Because if we get pulled and stretched too thin, we're not going to really be able to make progress. So what we're trying to do is overlay the focus of the board with some of the initiatives that we're in the midst of in our department. So we can concentrate efforts and partnerships and collaboration with you and do a better job. So if I may take you over to the second document, which is in fact Board of Parks and Recreation, proposed organization. So in this document, we're recommending that you set up an organization where you have a general full board meeting quarterly, and then 2 committees. The committees will be broken up into one on programs, activities, and events, and the second committee on enhanced improvements and community partnerships. And we'll create a sample schedule that we provided so that if you had a board member who is a member of the full board and interested in one committee, they would end up going to 2 meetings every 3 months. If you wanted to serve on both committees, you go to 3 meetings. That's what we call that anchor law, I guess. We'll encourage everybody to participate in at least one committee. And then starting on page 2 and 3, we outline the purpose, the subject matter, and the 2024 focus. So beginning with the full park advisory board, again, that purpose is, the general business. Mainly things that you may be interested in that don't fall neatly under one committee or another. Maybe a report back from a committee because you may serve on one committee and you want to hear what's going on the second. So we can set up things like that at the full board meeting. The 2024 focus and areas that we would be especially interested in collaborating on for the general part board is developing recruitment pipelines, training, and professional development. We're a large department, and so we are constantly recruiting. Just with the number of positions we have, there's always going to be turnover. And so developing those pipelines of qualified people to come on is very important for us. And then professional development and training. Many of you do this, as part of your work. And we'd be very interested in, collaborating with you on that. A second area is, building the department's ability to utilize data to inform decisions and operations. I know many of you are used to doing that again in your operations, and it's something that's not as, regularly used in government operations, and we'll be exploring that. Community relations, partnerships and customer service, several of you raised that in the conversations about that being an area of interest. And then planning, adapting and mitigating for climate change. Another issue is equity. And you'll see that that's also built into the committees, as well, but I think that's something that would be a common thread going throughout work that we do. The program activities and events committee, again, the purpose and the subject matter, it really breaks into two large groups of programs. There's programs that the department will operate in-house, that we run, we staff, or we sponsor. And there are other activities that take place in parks that we fund and support. The 2024 focus, we would ask if you folks are supportive to focus on programs that we run around youth and Kapuna. We are doing a large effort under our deputy director's guidance on the recreational refresh for our youth programs. And then the city is also working on age-friendly cities. So we know that there's a lot of interest across the board in these two areas. And what we'd like is to be working with you over 2024 on program planning and design, community engagement, measuring satisfaction, staff development and training, and then the innovations and strategies around those two areas. And then maintenance, improvement, and community partnership committees on the last page. Again, the purpose and the subjects give the general subjects, but for the 2024 focus, we know from talking with many of you, and then also just from the general public, taking a look at establishing an outdoor landscape maintenance schedule. And two types of landscapes that we think would fall into different categories. One would be athletic field maintenance, standards for minimum maintenance that we would do, and then for the permittees that are using the fields, what may be something that we require permittees to do as their contribution for being able to use these spaces, because they are very heavily used year round, and it's a challenge on many of them. But the other is establishing standards for tree and passive recreational spaces. Athletic fields require, a certain level of maintenance. We'd like to have a different expectation about what passive areas look like, because we have limited maintenance resources. And if people understand a passive area may have longer grass, and that doesn't mean it's unmaintained, but it's a different type of look that's appropriate for those uses. That's something that we have developed over time, because planting more trees and having more pleasant passive recreation spaces is something we'd like to do. The other is the equitable distribution of recreational infrastructure. And I'm sorry, I need that a single bullet of short-term and long-term remedies. That actually should be two bullets. Long-term remedies may be our capital improvements project that's done over a series of years with a fairly long horizon. Short-term remedies are things that we may be able to do where we have a cash infusion rather than bonds, and we're able to work through our maintenance support services or contracts with small contractors to do certain things, or community contributions to areas. And then the last is improving accessibility and transparency of the use of recreational facilities. We are in the midst of trying to migrate our permitting system to an online permitting system. There's been a lot of requests over the years to have a more transparent process, and something that would make it simpler for our staff to manage as well and not take so much time. And then we'd like to implement a standard minimum hours for the public for pools and gym use to make sure that we're maximizing the investment in this facility over time. So I know that that's a fair amount to throw at you. We, sent the materials out earlier, but, you know, at this point, it's, again, if you folks are open to this idea of taking a look at this type of organization, structure, and collaborative approach towards the board, you may want to operate for your first year and work through this. And then as we establish a relationship and you get more familiar with the process and with the organization, make, you know, changes for the second year. This is not written in stone. But it's an idea to give us a starting point for the discussion. And so at this point, what we'd like to do is to turn it over to you folks to have a discussion. We're here to help answer any questions that you may have. But also to have the discussion among yourselves, because again, you're not voting members of the board. And ultimately, the choice is really up to you. And if there's modifications you want to make, we can help you work through those today and how we would phrase those in the documentation.
For the second. That's all the news is like this. The regions and
Yes, yes, we have a doctor program, we have 15 programs, and we have ways of working with people to do improvements, all parts, we have several of those set up now. Yes, I think that's something that would be a big part of the these areas.
Can you maybe kind of explain how the two committees, how they map across the programs that are in the department itself in terms of roles and responsibilities?
So, thank you for the question. We actually, deliberately did not propose committees along the department divisions, because the divisions do need to work together in order for these spaces to be successful. So a prime example would be, a park really needs trees, you know, because that's something that makes the park more attractive. You have shady areas for it. You know, it's a beautiful place. It's a welcoming place. Our division of urban forestry will be the unit that is going to be doing the tree maintenance and then working with the park staff on that. The division of urban forestry needs parks in order to be able to plant a lot of trees and to, you know, green up the city. And it has a mission to add more trees across the island, especially in areas that have been overlooked historically for tree planting. And a lot of places where those are going to go are going to be in parks. So when we talk about maintenance, it's going to include, depending on what item you're talking about maintaining, different sections and divisions within the department. But they should all be at the table, because in order for a park to be well maintained, you're going to need the groundskeeping staff, the trade staff, the tree staff, you know, as well as the recreation staff who are involved in permitting and other activities to make sure that we're planting in the right locations, you know, and we have that maintained over the long term.
Yeah, this is a follow-up question. Is there a silent staff that would come to the
We will get to that point, but we weren't sure how you guys would want to go, so we didn't want to be presumptuous. But we would end up having assignments for that, depending on which subject matters you pick and which big structure.
No, that's a question.
Yes.
I got a question too about this proposed structure and how, you know, how it would work, how we would actually really have a result, let's say at the end of the year, right? So we're not just talking. And I was very excited when I saw the bullets about the 2024 focus for the whole board. Then when I noticed that the board only meets quarterly, and you know, in the way we work as a WH, most of the work gets done in committees and then referred back to the full body. And I may not understand it fully, but I'm trying to see how those, for the committee focal points and tasks tie back in with the overall board goals. Because like I did use specific things. I got very excited. I drew a big smiley face here and they're planning, adapting, mitigating for climate change.
And then, when I look at the committees, like, I think there's a little maintenance, including a community partnerships committee. Maybe that could also include more of the planning into, because, what are we maintaining and why are there issues with maintenance have a lot to do with the physical condition and that's related to the planning. So I guess my short of my long ramblings is, can we maybe find it even more direct way to tie the committee goals to the overall ordinance, or is it deliberate in this draft that they're almost separate? That's a good question. They were not tied together in this draft. We knew that in talking to the board members, that there was interest in certain topics that many of which will fall neatly into one or another committee, but not all of which, or some may fall into both committees. And so when we put this together, we were kind of having that 2024 focus for the full board, saying that these were topics of high interest, that didn't necessarily fall neatly into one or the other committee that we may want to keep track of. But I could see the board wanting to move to a point where you have goals for the year and maybe directing the committee. We didn't hear that clearly enough in the individual conversations. And I think many of you are still new to the organization and may not have been able to articulate it yet. So this first year may be a little bit of a knowledge development and relationship building to get to that point. And then you may also want to make some amendments to what's proposed here so that you can see stronger ties to things that you're interested in.
I would agree with that, and obviously my eyes got drawn to the treatment pipeline. Again, I think a lot about, I'm wondering, even with the chair and vice chair, given it's not technically an executive committee, then being able to have an eye on these priorities, even to drive them forward, might provide an important structure. And so I agree, these priorities under the full board.
I think sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and it might be helpful. I don't see a committee chair that will opposed to that. I'm not sure they're here. Purposely not having a committee chair, but potentially maybe having a committee chair that could work with the chair and the chair to, although we'll have focus, maybe discussing at the end, decide what's priority. Versus the board, we honor responsibility. Start to do and then
Yeah, it actually recommends that you have committee chairs and vice chairs for each committee. So on the very last page of the first,
we'll have questions about the priorities or committees.
Having chairs for each of the committee is good way to keep the communication flowing.
I think the polls online. Nikki, I don't want to, I want to make sure you're in the conversation. Do you have any questions or comments?
I don't think so, not at this time. Yeah, I'm good.
so I think at this point, maybe, if you folks don't have questions, we would turn back to the deputy to call for nomination for the chair. And then pass the gavel over to the chair. And then at that point, if you want to have discussions, like I said, like in the vice chair, and then have discussions like whether you would want to modify any of these things. Establish.
Kind of agenda item number 4. So, the 43 months, no. Okay, so, next item on the agenda is the election of officers for the Board of Parks and Recreation, agenda item number 4. Members, here's the process for nominations for the board chairperson and vice chairperson. I will call for nominations for the chairperson. And if we have multiple nominations, I'll take the nominations in the order received. I'll then take a vote on each of the nominations, and the person with the most votes in support of the nomination will be elected into the position. Once the board elects a chair, so it's a little bit modified from our script, but we'll take a quick recess, switch seats, and then have the chair proceed with the election of the vice chair.
Sorry.
Okay, so do I have a motion? For a nomination, for a chairperson for the board? Nomination.
It was possible to ask a question before the motion.
Sure.
I think with your year of board terms. We don't have staggered terms in the past.
You have staggered terms. We have, one person, I think, who is going out in December. Yeah.
It's my last.
Yeah, and then one person who I believe is termed out. So we'll have a holdover, and then we have ninth board member who is ready for nomination for the next year. So I think Michael and Ricky would not be eligible at this point to serve this term. Sorry. Which I know you guys are. Chairman. I'm sorry.
I believe there's a term attached to each of these members.
Yeah, there is. Each of you have a term, and so every year, I think about 2 members will roll over. People could serve 2 terms at 4-year terms. So when you were originally appointed, you were given the term, but if you were being appointed to a specific seat, so even though you're a new board, everybody's going into a pre-existing term seat. But our plan was to roll you guys all over to a second term.
And I don't believe we have that info with us, right?
No, but
Right, yeah.
but we can email it
Ask
out.
That question,
Yeah.
and hers, I think, is like a 4-year term. So I think it's up to 6.
5.
5.
But I think the question is, how long is this board chair and vice chair going to serve? And you folks can set, I would imagine it's not more than a 2-year term, just because of the rollovers and things, but if you folks want to set a shorter term for the first year, that's something that you certainly can do, because it's not laid out in the charter. There's no mandatory.
For the chair and vice chair, I believe, the expectation is able to board the committees. This is up to us. Just continue. And I guess, maybe with that to the 2-part question, I saw that there's several different events in the event area, and with that, the expectation of one there.
Again, I think that's up to this board. I mean, the only thing that's really prescriptive is the role, in the charter. It's not anything.
To your first question, John, like for me, for example, would be a lot easier to attend committees if they were maybe on Zoom versus the board, board meeting in person. So I think it depends a bit on the modalities and what the expectations are to show up.
First, I don't think. But I don't know if they're gonna see the channel.
I think COVID changed everything, and a lot of meetings are hybrid now.
Actually, a question on the charter, Lauren, is that ever get reviewed or modified?
The charter, by charter, I think has a charter committee every 10 years that reviews and takes public testimony, and then council members can make recommendations, it's only amended by vote, popular vote. I don't think this has been amended since it was created.
I asked because with the word beautification, when it comes to the charge of this board, it's just a very, find it a very dated time, because there's so much beyond beautification part, right? Social, environmental, not much. Anyway, I was just curious, because I would love to see that change.
Any other questions or further discussion? You ready?
John has sort of started to, give us.
I was gonna actually nominate.
No, I was about to
And-
jump in for Dawn. I might actually need to go remote for this summer, so I think that I should be better for the whole year.
Well, we sometimes also vote for the people who are not president.
Strong desire to chair or?
I would support your flexibility to be able to. I think that we could.
We could live with that.
Yeah. I think I want to make a formal motion. I'd like to nominate John Leon to be the chair of the full board of Parks and Recreation.
Second.
Are there any other nominations?
You keep your opportunity to share for all money.
I did one, you guys will control the structure and. You know. The modalities. And then this one. Okay, so. If no other nominations, all in favor, say aye. Any objections? Okay, so we have. Paris congratulations. So I'm gonna make this, just recess for a few minutes. I'm gonna leave. And then John can have his revenge.
Sorry in advance.
How's that?
It's real ways.
You're gonna count it.
Well, so kind of. Yeah, you can end up my son. Either 5 years. Change. We're all different.
I mean, I don't know all of it.
Okay.
Several of us are different. 2026. I'm 2027.
Previously, we were staggered.
it was pretty good. This year, because of the fact that COVID interrupted and we did not have a board meeting for almost 2 years, about a year and a year before. During that time, there was no need. So that's why those positions were filled. Now, and you know, and they were actually. The only ones that bought a year. Yeah. This part. Because you have the umpire. That's not. We had one guy with Roger. So he was involved in that, he a lot of gym and public. Martin was, she was active, she was a lawyer, and she was active in, Chris Ball. Yeah. She was active in that. So she was always a strong advocate for that. And then the rest in and out. There when he encountered your help dropped off. So it was Randy Harco was so the only users per se were myself and Roger that were active with that's my work with that.
But I guess. I would hate to do that, but.
I'm gonna kind of go a couple of minutes here. Talking about four beans and tea and 12 beans and I cannot have to do all of it. I cannot do, no, no more Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. I don't listen to all of it. See, so I think that sort of big school. Yeah, we don't need it. We may not write something.
Yeah, they were.
But I got some things. Maybe they would go on. I can. Or.
All right, everyone, let's start back on there. So thanks for the vote of confidence. These are asking very, with a lot of wisdom, but am I gonna be okay with my wife doing to check with that? So, just getting back into the agenda, we're gonna be looking first at the vice chair. And I want to call for any nomination or first of all, is there any discussion or questions? It's in the there's none, I'm like to incorporate nomination. Nominate another person or nominate themselves.
What is it? So you're unable to serve?
No,
in a-
this will likely be. But I would.
You're able to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nomination.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that. Yeah, I motion.
Nominations. Before we vote. If there's none, it's all in favor. Okay, any opposed? Thank you for your service. Now we're gonna be looking at the, we're gonna look to have a motion for the adopt for the fund resolution. Ours is cascading. We had a chance to discuss it, and it's good to even have some experience to like people on the first two days, questions that came on for comments. Seeing that there is none, we're gonna take a vote, so, let me try and vote to adopt the responsibility for the ones lower than part of that. So, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, you're gonna get a very efficient move. All right, next, we wanted to have a motion to adopt the full structure for committees. I'll pause there to see if there's a question on either of the committees or comments. And so this is a reminder, we have the program activities and events committee. And then the other one is the maintenance activities and the target committee.
Question for them.
Sure, yes.
I actually, pretty sure somehow discussed, or depending on what that motion looks like, with the committee, the authority during its first meeting to refine or revisit it. You know, it seems like much towards the committee as a whole to meet today, so, I mean, I think we could generally agree, or the motion, make a motion to agree on these committees, but write into the motion somehow that the details will be determined as the committees. Then their term. Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, that would take quite a longer discussion now.
I think that's, I think that should be fine. I think that we'll try to, in part, if I leave board, focus, see what the 2024, and then stage of the communities and stage these. Come up here, maybe she has to study something, define it. You want any questions on that or concern? Would you like to look at?
Yeah, I can put in motion. I think you're moving, there's the board, the committee structure as proposed by the department. With the understanding that during the first committee meeting, the respective committees will define their purpose, subjects, and focus.
Second. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Since you want to vote, we will pass that motion. All right, and then I think our last agenda item for today is to vote on chairs for the committee. So you have the option to be chair and vice chair. Why don't we kind of put that up for discussion? Do we want to have the chair and the vice chair for each committee, or do we want to have one chair?
I think the chair would be sufficient. The groups are gonna be pretty small.
It's half the committee will be chairs. All right, are we all good with that? Robert, were you gonna say something?
I'm still trying to understand how these meetings and so the priorities. So this is a focus area that are for consideration for like priorities. I'm sure, you know, the director and deputy have things that are kind of bubbling towards the top for consideration, and maybe some things in motion, so perhaps that can be maybe some kind of consideration or some way for the committees to understand that first as we shape kind of the priorities of the year, so that we're not in conflict or we're not elevating a personal you know, preference over something that's key for the department. So yeah. And then in that first meeting, maybe understanding, you know, what are our opportunities to hear from staff or not just shape the agenda or the topics, but like who and where can we get information to help to understand and perhaps take some action or thoughts on action.
I think maybe the question is how do we, sorry, I don't, is there someone that would get a new slide from the staff?
Yeah, so, what we can do is if. I actually realized as we're having this conversation, we talked about committee chairs, but not membership. So our understanding is you end up where, there would be more than just a chair on a committee. You're gonna have some members on one or another committee. So what we can do is we can set up that first committee meeting, because sunshine law governs what you do. We can't have that informal discussion for you to make that decision outside of the public meeting. So we can set up that first meeting to go into more detail on the subject matters that we are proposing. And then if you want to adapt that, I have a hunch, Judith, that you're more interested in the maintenance side and the physical improvements. And we are probably not as far along in organizing that first meeting on that topic as we are on the recreation at the program side. But our intent with the program was to come to that first meeting with some more detailed presentation by the staff, beginning with, you know, one of the topics and then moving on to
Why is this important? Where is it at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would there be a possibility for us to field visit? One or two programs?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities outside of the committee meetings with individual board members and, other collaborative efforts. And the sunshine law does allow the board to create things like a permitted interaction group. So people can go off and do work, provided that they report back to the board, the full board. Some progress. So there's a lot of ways for you to work through that.
I have another question, and Dory, apologies, I know you explained this to me, but I totally forgot. Do the committee meetings, are they also public?
Yes. Yes.
We. This is an important question about, we choosing just the committee chair today or the company.
I forgot about composition. So I think that we put down choosing the composition of committees, and which could just be, members, so select. But we would need to share to be able to work with them like an agenda and, things like that. So we need a point person on the board for each of the committees.
Any other questions or conversation that discussion that you'd like to have? So with no questions or comments, I'd like to ask if we can get a nomination for the first meeting, Derek, program activities and events. Let's do.
Word is for staff and when it comes to this. It's difficult, I even think Christy had knowledge. We're not, we're going to be just a little bit more towards the inside, so. That's not. That's just a statement, so even for the health, community, and other. Moving it directions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I find the same thing. Carla.
Thank you. I apologize in advance.
All right.
That's the one.
All right. Thank you. So Carla is now our committee chair for the program activities and events. Congratulations. Okay, and we'll be now voting on the chair for the maintenance activities and community partnership.
Yes, so I would like to nominate Robert Vaderos as the chair of the Maintenance Improvement and Community Partnership Committee.
Thank you very much. A second. Okay, great. Any question? Any question, discussion? All right. Like we said, I'd like to talk about vote for Robert to be the chair for the Maintenance Improvement and Community Partnership Committee.
Aye.
Okay, we're saying unanimous. Any opposed? Okay. All right, seeing none opposed, congratulations, Robert. Okay, why don't we talk about?
I'm sorry, how, did we have a discussion with the term?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And so one
You
more.
guys probably want to know.
And why don't you-
It's December 8th.
Do we wanna, discuss that now? So, I think the minimum length term for 2 years. Given a 1 year term, 2 year term.
For the board, I think things change quickly as well.
Turnover as well.
Yeah. So I guess for the board, chair those 2 years.
I personally feel that maybe we the work of the board during this first year, maybe. Say better, maybe other committee or different, maybe the focus will shift a little bit. So perhaps it would make sense to have a committee just for 1 year. I don't know, when you were thinking about that, would these be more?
This is, I mean, we're suggesting this is a starter year, and we anticipate that you guys get into the groove and go through this, there is gonna be some modifications, so that we're flexible.
I think we're gonna keep this. I would like to recommend 1 year across the board. Well, this is for my personal. So everything's new, there might be differences in how the schedules and how they're doing it. This is still there. All one my responsibility to inform that. We are for that. One year. Why don't we just on that?
Make a motion that, for chair, co-chair, committee. Chairs be for 1 year. With the option. Yeah.
Wait a second. A second. All in favor? None opposed. That motion passes. Okay, and then finally, we have, community structure. We can go with the discussion on it, take someone that wants to. How about this? I'll leave the committee if you're interested in it. If there's one committee that doesn't have enough people, we'll have a discussion. And then, if you're not here, no vote, then we get to the side. All right, so we'll be in the first committee. So if you're interested in the program activity in the next meeting, please raise your hand. Robert, wait.
I thought Robert is chairman.
Oh, you. Yeah. You got it.
No.
Nikki, I just wanted to see if you, are you raising
Yeah,
your
raising
hand for this committee?
Yes, I'm raising my hand for this committee.
All right, so we have this.
Oh, no, I was like, we're doing.
Okay, we'll do one more count then. So we know Nikki is, so go ahead and raise your hand. Robert, okay. And then for the second committee, we have four. Maintenance of committees and community partnership committee. 1, 2, 3, 4. I will join that committee. If you're gonna be.
Yes, so
Okay. All
I'll
right.
be a resource if necessary.
Thank you very much. All right, well, we have 4 here, and then we'll probably. All right, well, we have our 2 committees, post late. And we get a. Call for a vote. I don't know if we will vote, but we can see that. Which committee structure is, yeah.
Membership.
All right. All right. All right. Before I get any area, other, businesses before, once, not. Any other board matters that we should bring up on board items?
Question, I'm interested in your ethics commission. Info on bringing up today, if time permitting, you'll have to do public testimony, and then you have the ethics commission.
Yeah, there's no other board items, we want to open it up for public testimony. Well, already making mistakes, which is important. So, this is gonna be on our meeting schedule. And so members, do I have a motion to adopt it? Both 2024 meeting schedule for the board of Selectmen and recreation.
Oh, I'm sorry. We are trying to find a location for, the folks, we're trying to work out with the Mission Memorial Auditorium. So we had a proposed, day and time on the Thursdays, but they're looking to see whether there's room available. So we don't have a date from them yet that would work. But we recommend having, like the second, third, or whatever of a specific day a month for the board to be meeting based on this schedule, quarterly with the full board, committee meetings. So maybe if we can, if you guys are okay with the concept, let us have a little bit more time to work out the specific date for the monthly meeting, but we'll try and get that set as soon as possible so that we'll have it for January going forward.
Maybe we could build a board members on their schedules just to make sure that whatever is going on.
And it would be good if you can let us know if there are days that are absolutely not workable, a certain day of the month that doesn't work. If we try to avoid them. So we're not voting on what's this with you, the second Thursday of the month. Unfortunately, not. We had hoped to have the memorial, but this might be.
So should I cancel this?
I think, if we can ask, so if you folks have a day of the month that absolutely does not work for you, to let the chair and myself know, and then we will get back to you as soon as we can when the proposed date. But if you guys like the idea of having a set day a month for this, knock it out.
Well, it sounds like it's not, yeah, we would be voted on, so I don't prefer this vote until later. Okay, well, I'm gonna go into public testimony, now, moving out, people will testify. Are there any,
Can you tell if you have anybody?
John Rogers from Everbeat.
yes, Mr. Rogers.
Hi, everybody. My name is John Rogers. I'm on the Evatt Beach Neighborhood Board, and I just want to say I'm really excited that you folks are together. The Board of Parks and Recreation is a thing now, and I'm excited for the future. I am intimately familiar with the parks in Evatt Beach. We have our park committee. I'm co-chair. We do an inspection. We have an inspection program. So I would be happy to meet any one of you anytime out here and show you our parks and our problems, our issues. And I have a lot of ideas. So I'll be attending some of these meetings in the future. And just one thing to start you out, the special use of parks. It's a website. It's one of the web pages on the Parks and Recreation webpage. It's kind of really out of date, and I think it's really out of date for Evatt Beach because we started with a couple parks back in the day: Pulo Beach Park, Evatt Beach Park, and Honolulu Beach Park. Those were our 3 parks. And now we have 9, so we started with 3, now we got 9, and all the new parks haven't been added to this special use. So like a person can't walk a dog, they only can walk a dog in one of our parks, in Eva Beach Park, and not any of the other parks, or do dog lessons or anything like that. That's just one, for instance, and I'm going to leave you guys be. But like I said, I'm really excited that you guys got going, and I'm happy. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rocky, for both your input and your enthusiasm. Are there any other remote items?
Are you talking to me? I'm having a really hard time hearing you guys through this
sorry.
meeting.
I was just asking if there was, I said thank you for your testimony, and I also was asking if there's any other remote testifiers.
No. There are none. There are none.
There are none. Okay, seeing that there's none, we are now going to in-person testimony. When I call you, please proceed to the desk. Right here. And please begin by sharing your name and testimony. So it's me. We have Ms. Antoinette Lee, president of the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame.
All my cousins to the city and county park recreation organization. I'm so fortunate to have been growing up in the 40s and the 50s. In those days, parks and recreation offered great programs for all of us growing up. We offered summer fun, sports, provided related cultural dancing like Japanese, Chinese dancing, language classes, and hula. There weren't hula halal back then. Hula teachers taught that class. Some of those teachers, we got them, many who taught them than Alice Palakuli, who is the director of music and dance at Creative Hula staff. Alice Lamakaiwa, the Collins and Honolulu, who is the longest serving. Fornani Alama, who's still alive. Alice Yabikan Garner, Rose Onakia Lane, Joseph Kahalua, Edwina McCoy, who is also still alive, with the Nakanaki singer. George Holokai, Geraldine Alama, Lay Kanibo Hamabaso, Living Leo Pratt Apple, also still alive. Olena Kasparovich, and contract teachers, not regular staff singing county with Blossom Park, Abby Olive, and Kool-Aid Clark. Along them in the middle of the late 50s. Then eventually the halal started surfacing all over the world. Today, there are more hula halal internationally than there are here in Hawaii. Founded in 1994, Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame, a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting and preserving Hawaiian music and hula, was formed. We honor the ancestors with historical exhibitions and research. We encourage the artists of today with concerts and recordings, and we nurture the young with educational programs. Our mission is to promote, preserve, and perpetuate Hawaiian music and halal by celebrating the achievement of significant individuals and groups. Each year, Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame produces highly anticipated music and hula events. Lea Stars pays tribute to our current year Hall of Fame inductees and presents their own music and hula in a gala concert. From time to time, we also produce concerts and other events that feature the music of our inductees, performed by some of today's most accomplished artists in Hawaiian music and hula. Our annual meeting is open to the public and includes a concert of outstanding talent in field of Hawaiian music. This year, our inductees into the Hall of Fame will be Robert Ulumehi Casanero, Randy Fong, Keloha Kalama, Louise and Luca Kaleti, Johnny Lambo, Aaron Mahi, and Honolulu Parks and Recreation hula teachers. Lea Stars will be a brunch that will be held on Sunday, December 17th, 2023 at 10 a.m. at the Alohi Hotel in Waikiki. Come, join us. It will be a memorable event. Every 21st of the month, the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame live streams internationally our Hawaiian music in hula. It's called Make Music Hawaii, which is brought to Hawaii by Be Hawaii, started by Nalani Jenkins Choi 2 years ago. Every month we feature a different group. The Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame creates museum quality exhibitions that celebrate the life, musical careers, and achievements of the inductees. We are currently located in the Royal Room on Newer Street, but are looking for a new home and must move by the end of this month. Visit our website at hawaiianmusichofoffame.org to find out where we will be born. So I'm here to say to the parts of recreation for all that you have done through the years. And you know, back in the day, which I call the golden years, the real golden years, I think Park and Recreation touched far more people than Hawaii today. And the saddest thing of all is, and most of you are not aware, that here we are, a host culture with no museum, with Hawaiian hula. That's our mission to do. But again, I'm really good to invite you to come and be there for the inductees this year, and to thank each and every one of you, even if you're just really connected, for all the work that you do. And if somebody could come so that they could be the person that will be accepted to the award that we do.
Are there any other testifiers that are in person? So that there is no close the in-person testimony portion of the agenda. And then I'll move forward.
If we can, before we do the ethics, I just wanted to invite, the park department staff to stand up and introduce themselves. Just so you folks know who they are, and, if we can just go down the line.
I'm Carrie Young. I'm the District 5 manager, so that covers Central Oahu.
Cesar Manuelo, Maintenance Support Services, DPR.
Hi, I'm Jason Wall, I'm the district manager for the windward side of Oahu.
Karen Hirohata, I'm the East Honolulu District Manager, so I oversee Sandy Beach to Makani. Joshua Sand, Director of Honolulu Department of Arts.
Darren Kimura, District 3, District Manager, we go from Waipalo out to Makaha. Brandon Kono, West Honolulu District Manager, cover Makiki Tlaina.
Hi, Christine Chang, Parks Maintenance Recreation Services Administrator.
Dory, go ahead.
Oh, Dory, Amanamitsui, I've met most of you.
Hi everyone, I'm Nate Sirota. I handle the public relations for the department, so social media, the website. Sorry I couldn't make the first meeting. I was helping out over on Maui with their public communications from the wildfires, but nice to meet all of you.
Pretty quickly, I'm the horticulture services manager at the Division of Urban Forestry, so we handle all the tree planting, tree maintenance, nurseries, tree farms. Roxanne Adams, Division of Urban Forestry, I'm the administrator there. I work with Josh and Tim.
We also are joined by our city council person, who's chair of the Arts Committee.
Hi, everybody, and thank you guys for what you can do. All you told one city councilman, District 9.
Marcia in the corner.
Straight to the corner.
I'm Marcia, I work with Councilmember Koma.
And then, before we turn it over to the ethics group also, I just want to recognize Vicky for this year's service. When I came on in, we were in the midst of COVID. So, the first time I met him as a Parks Advisory Board member was your first board meeting a couple months ago. But I think we had some conversations went home, but he's been a stalwart member of the Parks Board. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
The ethics commission was on for the different boards and commissions to go through an ethics
We have Terry, Miss Terry, Kudeole, on mine. She's gonna be sharing the assessment with us, also from the city's ethics commission. Virtually, they're going to talk about the speech and
It's a little muffled, so I can't hear. So I'm taking it as a go that I can start.
Sorry about that, Terry. Yes.
No problem. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to share screen. We do have a very brief PowerPoint presentation to accompany our presentation today. All right. So again, my name is Terry Kili'ipuleole. I'm with the Honolulu Ethics Commission as an associate legal counsel, and present with me, I also have Eric Irwin, who is also an associate legal counsel. So thank you so much for putting us on the agenda on such short notice. We're just here to give over a very brief and quick financial disclosure presentation. A large part of why we're here today is actually, we made it our lofty goal for 2024 to reach 100% compliance for all financial disclosure filings. That's going to be employees and boards and commissioners. And unfortunately and historically in the past, we've only proceeded to enforcement for delinquent financial disclosure filings against board and commissioners. So we thought it'd be really important in order to try to meet this goal to just pop on as many calendars as we can throughout the fall of board and commissioners, just to give you some friendly reminders of upcoming due dates and also some new news in the works. All right. So our agenda, we'll just go over some quick FAQs, important due dates, so please be ready to mark your calendars if you haven't already done so. Our submission process for financial disclosures, and then wrapping it up with some penalties. All right, so we often get these 3 questions from board and commission members regarding financial disclosures. And so just to orient us here a little bit about financial disclosure forms is, the requirement to file, and our board and commission members required to file. And the short answer here is yes. And it's because board and commission members are considered city officers, and that city officership is what triggers the mandatory filing. And, what is the importance of financial disclosures? They're really important to help build public trust in government, and they also assist the individual filer with identifying conflicts of interest. The way that the form is structured, it kind of takes you through all of your various assets and whatnot to help you through the course of your officership to determine, maybe there's some things I should recuse myself from if it's too close to home. And then lastly, is my financial disclosure confidential? And yes, in fact, for board and commission members, your financial disclosures are different from other, city officers or employees. That yours will be confidential. That means that it's filed with the Ethics Commission, and we are the repository for them, so we hold them, which is unlike other city employees and officers where it's actually submitted to the city clerk, which is available for the public to view. All right, and the bread and butter of why I'm here today is going to be this very important upcoming due date. And there's 3 due dates that you really need to be aware of for financial disclosures. The first one, assuming you all have completed, was your initial financial disclosure filing, and that would have been 20 days from swear-in date. The second, and this is going to be an ongoing annual filing. So every January 31st, your financial disclosure form is going to be due. And the nuance here with this one is that the filing period begins on January 1st, and then it's going to close on January 31st. And that's because the information that you're filing on the financial disclosure form is for the preceding calendar year. So this is one of those situations where the early bird doesn't get the worm. If you were to try to file in December, say for example of this upcoming December, that filing will actually count for the previous calendar year. And we're really going for 100% compliance for January 31st, 2024. So if you can mark your calendars for that the filing period will begin January 1st and January 31st. And then the final due date to know is that you have your final financial disclosure form due 10 days prior to leaving office. All right. And how to submit. Our current process, unfortunately, is, it's old school. It's paper, print, and submission. So you can access the PDF form on our website at honolulu.gov/ethics. There's a little screenshot here on the side. And we tried to create our website that's user-friendly, especially to city board and commissioners. So on the left side of our website screen, you'll see a tab that's specific for city board and commission members. If you click on that tab, it's going to take you to your own homepage. And at the very top of that will be the financial disclosure form. You would click on that, print it out, fill it out, and then there's 2 ways that you would be able to submit that to us. That's going to be either through email or traditional snail mail to our Kapalama location. And hoping that we have very good new news on the horizon regarding our submission process that will take place of this old paper submission. And with that, I will turn it over to Eric to kind of share that new news with you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric, as Terry said. What I'll be covering today is kind of the option if I guess it's a new option. It's not officially confirmed yet, but it looks about 90% sure. So keep that in mind going forward. That's why Terry presented on what she presented on the old way. But the new way is something akin to like a TurboTax. So you would have to log on to hnl.info, and the system will be built in there, and you'll put in all your data just as you did before. And it'll accomplish the same thing, but it'll hopefully be a lot easier to turn in. You won't have to print off the form. And how you'll access that is, again, this is where, if you want to get a head start on it, because it does look like it's likely to move forward, it's if you go to hnl.info, create a user account. And the purpose of the website isn't exclusively for financial disclosure. So there are other functions that go along with it. You can get city and county news. You can register for other events through that site. And this will be built in for the boards and commission members. Again, really easy. And as this gets closer and as we get confirmation that this will be the new system, there will be a how-to sheet. And so we're going to actually distribute that to your board liaisons, and they can get that to you. So you guys won't be going in the dark. But as with everything, you can always reach out to either your board liaison or the Ethics Commission itself if you do encounter problems. One of the other things is, because this is the first time we're using the system, nothing will autofill. So that if you're on the board next year, everything will be saved in autofill, make your life a lot easier. But one of the common problems that we have with board and commission members, they say they can't get certain information. And in particular, it's usually the TMK number for your property or something else. So if that is the case, or you need something from a past disclosure you filed, this is a year where, hey, reach out to us. We have all those saved. We'll shoot you over your old disclosure. You could just copy that information right in there. So to make it easy, we really want this to be pretty seamless, and it looks like it is going to go forward. So can't confirm positively, but it looks very much in the works. And same for employees, except the employees won't be going through the HNO.info site. They'll use a different system, but it'll be the same electronic filing. If we go to the next slide. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. These are the penalties that we do enforce. And unfortunately, as Terry said, the only people that we have enforced against were board and commission members, which is something we don't like doing because we recognize that this is all volunteer. I mean, we hate to go after people who are helping their community doing this, but there comes a point where we do have to take steps. And so if you are a first-time non-filer, you get a notice we sent out, that NOAV. You have 10 days to file, and there's no penalties, nothing occurs, the whole thing's dismissed. But if you don't file, there's an automatic $100 fine. That can go up to a $5,000 fine if you do not file within 30 days of receiving that notice. So the fines could get pretty hefty. Not something we like to do, but unfortunately, it is something we have to do. In the past couple of years, we've had a streak. So not something we want to continue. And then the criminal penalty is on there. We've never enforced that, but it is a possibility. It would have to be pretty egregious, though. With that, I'll leave it go there. So I think we're going to close with a little plug. I know I referenced earlier that you can contact us with any questions regarding your financial disclosures. It doesn't only, if something doesn't work out, it goes beyond that. If you have a question about what to put on the financial disclosure, feel free to contact us. But more importantly is that we're a free service for legal advice on ethics. So if you guys have any questions not related to financial disclosures, if there's a conflict, you think there might be a conflict, you don't know how to handle it, contact us, give us as much information as possible and a time frame, like if you need it by a certain day. And we're really good about getting back to you and getting you an answer as quick as possible. We've had somebody contact us 2 hours before a meeting, say, hey, this might be a conflict, and we've responded and given them that. And the thing to remember is that it's free, it's confidential, and we're always available for those kinds of questions. But that's the kind of the plug I have for the commission itself that goes beyond the financial disclosures. But with that, I just want to thank you all for your time. Thank you for having us. And if there's any questions, you guys feel free to ask them now or later. Okay.
Thank you so much, Terry and Eric. Great to see all the great progress that you guys are making. Can we ask that these slides or the information on the slides be provided to the board members?
Yeah, definitely. I'll send over an email with the handouts version of the PowerPoint so you can circulate it to board members.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Oh, sorry. Was there a question? I saw.
Yeah, if I may,
Okay.
Eric, is there a particular timeline when the HNO.info online registration will be available?
Yes, great question. So it goes along with our filing period. So they're hoping to get it sorry, I forgot that. So January 1st, 2024. So the first of next year. And so that coincides with the filing date that the earliest you could file for your annual. So good question. Thank you.
And we will send out reminders as that due date and filing period comes, starts coming a little bit closer. Usually around December, we'll send out a reminder email that we hope to get to board and commissioners. And we do it on the employee side as well too. Just letting you know that filing period is beginning, and then one more right before it's going to close on January 31st. So hopefully we'll have those email reminders back out again, as well as any other additional information, like Eric said, guides and whatnot. As they become available to us, we'll make sure to pass them directly over to boards and commissions so that you have those available and ready to utilize on January 1st. Cross our fingers if and when it goes live.
Any other questions for Terry or Eric? Thank you guys again so much for your time. Well, I definitely don't want to close on potential penalties or violations. So
Well, I just wanted to let you know that Jason Wall, who is he and his daughter are excellent chefs, brought in some goodies for everyone. So we ended up on a fine note, still ended up on a food note, and so we'll open this up for sharing and then we'll.
Alright, so there's no more further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Mrs. Lee, can you go up and have something else if you want?